It's easy to get disillusioned with ordinary life, but what if there's more to it than meets the eye?
Everyday, ordinary life is where extraordinary faith is built. It's where we actually get to walk with Jesus.
This podcast is all about looking at all of life, the highs, the lows, and plateaus, through the lens of a journey with Jesus.
Whoever you are, wherever you're at, God sees you and wants to walk with you.
Only when you choose to do life with Him does the ordinary become wonderful. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of
Wonderfully Ordinary Podcast.
Yes, I can't believe it. This is so cool, so exciting, and a lot has happened the last few weeks, so I'm ready for these high-low buffaloes. I don't know about you.
Oh my goodness, I actually haven't even thought about that. That's okay, we'll see what comes out.
Yeah.
It'll be genuine.
Do you want me to go first
Yeah,
then? Or?
I need to think about this.
Okay. Well, I would say, to start off, we'll probably both talk about this a little bit. Our church had a youth conference this last week, and it was absolute chaos as usual, but like the best kind because, you know, there's worship and kids encountering the Lord. That was the theme, encounters with God. And it's middle and high school students. And honestly, it was special for me because I think 9 years ago now, oh my goodness, 9 years ago, when I was at this youth conference, I just felt like basically called to vocational ministry, which, you know, they had this one session where the pastor talked about how he felt the Lord was calling him to continue working in ministry and for the rest of his life when he was a teen. And I also had been thinking that for a few years. And so there's an opportunity to stand if you felt like you also were called and get prayed over. And that was just such a special moment. So to be back at Youth Encounter serving when other students were having similar encounters with God or rededicating their lives and getting saved was so cool. So that's a high. My low is that I'm just exhausted from that. And
yeah, same.
Yeah, it's just been such a wild past 2 weeks. I think even emotionally, you know, when you just feel like nothing crazy has happened. Like I'm not, I don't know, grieving loss or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just been a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. And I'm a girl, like an emotional girl too. Let's just face it. It's going to happen. And then my buffalo is related to Youth Encounter 2. I was a color leader.
Okay. And what does that mean? Well, I guess I'll explain it really quick.
Yeah, you could explain
color
it.
war leaders. So we have like this thing where the kids in each grade level kind of like compete against each other in like just fun games. Yeah. And each group of grades, I think they split middle and high school into 4 groups, and Sammy got to lead one of her groups. What grades were you?
The oldest, so 11th and 12th.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you guys lost, didn't you?
We got second.
Ooh.
But we came back because we were in like bottom the first like 2 days.
Yeah.
The last day we came back.
Okay, but who was the character you dressed up as?
So because I was Team Blue, I chose to be Dory.
It was so cute. It was
but
so
not
cute.
Just like I had this I don't know, it was like a costume, just this like round sack you kind of put on. I got it off Amazon, and it was Dory with her little fins. But to top it all off, I had a blue bob wig.
I love that bob.
Oh my goodness. I loved it too. It honestly was so fun to wear. I felt like a different person. I felt like, did you ever watch Lazy Town?
Yes.
I don't even, yeah, it's just.
The girl's name was Stephanie.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, I don't remember it that well.
Sure.
I just remember her look.
Sure.
And that they had a blimp.
The pink bob,
Yeah. And they had a blimp.
Yes.
So random.
Yeah, it is kind of random.
But anyways, I just remember her bob so vividly in my head from like watching it as a kid. So I felt like the blue version, I guess.
I love it.
It was just super funny, and like all the videos and getting to dance on the stage randomly. They like some students wished that me and another character, the purple team, he was Barney, they asked that we would do a dance battle, and it was the funniest thing.
Wait, who won? I wasn't in the room for that.
You weren't there?
No.
Did you see a video?
No.
I need to show you.
Wait, what? I'm so sad.
Yeah, no, I need to show you. Also, they did me so dirty. They put Under the Sea for my dance-off song.
What?
I still won.
Good, as you should.
It's because I pulled out all these hip-hop moves, even though Under the Sea is the hardest song to dance to. I just figured it out.
Wow, okay, I need to see this video.
It was so funny. I'll show you later.
That's awesome.
But that was my high-low buffalo.
Love it.
Crazy.
All right, my high-low buffalo. My low, also tired from this event. My high, also this event, because youth encounter it's just so great, like in the theme of encountering God, which I think we're kind of talking a little bit about that today.
Encountering Jesus.
It was just super beautiful. It's always really pretty, like amazing to see God work in many different ways and different age ranges, like seeing him work.
Yeah.
My buffalo is that, okay, guys, just for context, I'm not like a very athletic, sporty person. Like I don't tend to do stuff that requires you to move your body a lot. I'm
sorry, the way you said that was so funny.
I like to sit. Just joking. But yeah, so I don't really like play sports or do anything like of that nature. But I'm trying to get more into it because I know it is good for you. And yeah. And so this weekend I went surfing.
Oh yeah.
For the first time ever. And it was definitely out of my comfort zone. But let me tell you, I had so much fun.
Aww.
Like I've never had that much fun in the water before, because normally I'm scared of like what's going to, bite my leg off, like sharks. And so, yeah, it was really fun. I actually stood and rode like one wave, or however you say that. Don't laugh. It is Florida waves. So they're like
baby
non-existent, but I still did it. So call me a surfer. I'm a surfer now. So watch me catching waves on the weekend, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you bought a board and everything.
I bought a board too, literally.
I know,
I
was shocked when she told me.
Go surfing once and buys a board later that afternoon. That's me. So
I mean, that's how they get you.
That is how they get you. Man, it was a free class too.
Yeah. Shout out to Island Water Sports in Deerfield.
Yeah, facts. If you don't know, go on Saturday mornings. They have a free surfing class, so sign up for that.
I know, you still have to, or you've been trying to get me to go, you and some other friends, but
okay, next time. It's early though.
I know, it's just early on a Saturday. Normally I'm a morning person though, but
I don't know. It was fun, and I went after being like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, that's actually insane. You went after youth encounter. Oh my gosh,
it's okay. I'm
already tired still right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's the high-low buffaloes.
Yay! Well, today we are gonna do a little bit more of like a dive into some Bible stories. It's been on my heart to talk about these stories for a while because I love them so much, and God in the last few years brought me to them often. And when you put them all together, it's just really cool to compare and contrast. But basically, we're going to look at 3 stories in the Gospels where Jesus encounters specifically women in just different ways. So the first one's in John 4. It's with the woman at the well. The second one is Mark 5. It's also found in another spot, but we're using Mark 5 for the woman who's bleeding. And then John 8 is the woman caught in adultery. And I'm pretty sure we're going to title this. And if it's titled something else, that's because we decided after. But the problem with shame, and talk about what shame is. Because I think that sometimes in our culture, we struggle with it and let it draw us away from God. And that's what we just want to address today through these stories, and starting with a definition of what shame and guilt are, because they can get kind of muddy.
Right. Because I think when I first think of like shame and guilt, I almost want to think that they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
I think they kind of start off maybe with having a base of some similarities, but they're very different in what you do about it.
Yes.
So like a quick definition of the two: guilt is remorse for your behavior and actions, and normally it should lead to repentance.
Yeah.
And shame is, it kind of starts with like the feeling of guilt, right? But it's when you take your remorse or guilt a step further, you go into like a dangerous territory of self-victimization. So you're like dwelling on it, that you're a terrible person. You have a pity party, and you also start to believe that you're too bad to receive God's grace. And that's where the problem comes in with shame.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that sometimes you might get into a headspace of I need to be okay, this is me speaking from experience. So sometimes, because I feel like I need to be humble, right? Like be humble in my heart and everything, and fight against pride, it leads me to swing all the way to that opposite side of just like letting myself soak in shame, or just tell myself like all these bad things so that I can stay humble with air quotes.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh, well, I deserve this. Like, I shouldn't have done that and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But I think that there's a line almost where you can start to actually, feels so like philosophical, but you could start to take pride in that
Mm,
because you're almost telling yourself, like, no, I am too far or too bad to even be a recipient of God's grace and forgiveness. And when you're saying that and you're not choosing to like receive his grace, you're basically saying, like, God, I don't believe you when you
mm,
say that there's
mm-hmm.
no longer any condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, which is
Yeah.
Romans 8:1, I think. Right? I don't know. Yes, it is. It is. And so basically, like, if you stay too long in shame, it drives you away from the Lord into isolation to believe lies that may seem like you're just being humble, but instead you're telling God, like, I don't believe what you did for me works.
Right. It kind of makes me think that you're allowing yourself to stay there because you're not willing to face the fact of
Mm-hmm.
whatever is bringing the shame, and in order to get over it, like, you have to not have shame anymore. It's
Yeah.
like I have to actually face it and be like, either
Yes.
you
You're
forgive,
comfortable.
like, right, that gets forgiven and you accept God's grace, or you sit there and hide in it because you whatever you're believing lies or whatnot, or like
Yeah.
you said, get into that sense of pride in a way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you get comfortable, I
which is
guess.
scary.
Yeah.
It can definitely lead you into then being resentful towards other things because you're
Yeah.
like, um, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll just start with the overview of each story
Mm-hmm.
and then start to like notice differences.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, the woman at the well, in her situation, she is a Samaritan woman. So the Samaritans and the Jews had beef. Let's just say that.
Love that.
basically,
They had beef.
basically, yeah. The Samaritans, I'm pretty sure their beef was that they were like intermarried way back in the
Mm-hmm.
day and kind of became mixed in a sense. And so that was why there is tension way many years later.
Mm-hmm.
But in this story, Jesus, instead of avoiding Samaria like a lot of people did, he goes straight through it and
Mm-hmm.
he stops at a well in like the peak hot hour of the day, like noon
And that's
time.
normally a time that most people, if not all people, did not go to the well.
Yeah, because it's so booty cheeks hot. Like it is in Florida right now.
Oh my
I
goodness.
can't.
Yeah.
I
I cannot
literally.
imagine.
Oh, I just remembered a low.
What's
My
your
car AC is not working. I
So
know.
imagine being in your car with no AC, having to drive to Publix that's 10 miles away to get water. This is
Yeah.
what they're doing, okay?
Yeah,
Just to put
basically.
into perspective. Yeah, in like 100-degree weather, you're trying to hike up to this hill to get water from a well. Like you would be crazy to go during that time. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. But he goes. Obviously, Jesus knows everything and he knows he's going to meet her.
Yes.
And she's there. Why is she there, Stasha?
Why is she there? Well, if you guys don't know about this story, or you haven't heard it in a while, or maybe
Yeah.
you have, just a reminder that this woman, she became an outcast in a way because of her lifestyle. She had many husbands, and then the guy that she was living with was not her husband,
Mhm.
and so the whole town was judging her, right? So like,
Yeah.
and in order to she's felt like a sense of shame and didn't want to have to go through that judgment. So that's why she was choosing to go to the well at a time where she knew that most people would not be there.
Yeah,
Because she didn't want to
exactly.
face them, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
be faced with the fact of what your sin is, and that's where she found herself.
Yeah.
Little did she know she's gonna get faced with a right slap in the face.
Jesus. Yeah. But what I love about this story is that the way he engages her is so like it's with like honor, even though even though she was in the wrong, she was living like a sinful lifestyle,
Right.
but he still like engaged with her with
Mhm.
honor. So he like asked her for water and
Mhm.
she was like, Okay, I have the scripture pulled up here, so I'm not just paraphrasing, just to make sure. But yeah, he asked her for water, and then she's like, "You're a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" Since they don't associate. And he was like, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him if he could give you living water." And so then she gets confused, like, "Where's this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob?" Like, and so you could tell she kind of knows her stuff because later she's like, "Well, one day I know the Messiah will be coming and he's going to explain everything to us." And that's when he tells him, like, "I, the one you're speaking to, am he." But before that, you just see that she's kind of being a little bit feisty, kind of like, "Why are you talking to me and asking me this? Like, I'm a Samaritan, I'm a woman, I'm an outcast,
Yeah.
which is that victim mentality
It's
kind
like,
of.
I don't deserve to have you even speak to me at all.
Yeah,
Like, you should,
who do you think you
yeah,
are? Even though he's trying to be nice.
I know. But I feel like that's sometimes how there are times where we can even approach God in that way.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who am I even like to deserve you to even like give
Yeah.
me grace? Who am I to even accept forgiveness or
Yeah.
whatever? Like, I don't deserve it. I've done XYZ. Like, no one should. I shouldn't even like feel comfortable walking in a church if people only knew the things I've
Yeah.
done. And I think that's kind of
Exactly.
where she's
I
coming from.
even was talking to my mom this morning about that idea that sometimes we are not even like, we can't even trust God enough to ask him for something because we just feel like, well, who am I to ask? Which is good. Like, we should have reverence for the Lord.
But there's a difference between having reverence and just
and
fully
just
not
not trusting him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, they have this conversation and he knows how to get out of her what he's trying to. And, instead of just accusing her or whatever of everything he knew, he asked her, like, because she's interested in this living water. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, go get your husband." Obviously, that's a setup.
Ooh. Is that considered rage baiting?
What is rage baiting? I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it means.
It's when you like,
Oh, when you ask like an instigating question?
yeah, because you want like a certain response.
Wait, can you give an example? Do you know?
Can I?
Like, low-key, that is real.
A little bit, because if I was her, no, but think about it. It's like,
I'd be like,
know,
"Are you kidding me?"
I'm like, I've had 5 and the guy I'm with is not my husband.
Yeah.
And so him asking that, considering that Jesus, I know he's not trying to rage bait her, but he's trying to get a specific response from her without like him spelling it out. But like, yeah, in theory, technically, like it's like me knowing you have this sin, and like I know, Sammy, that you've had 5 men, and so I'm like, "Hey, get your husband," and you're like, "You know that I'm not with my husband and I've had 4 others. Why would you ask me that question?" It's like you're trying to get a
yeah. Honestly, I've done that not in a spiteful way before, but when you ask a question because
Yeah, I sometimes okay, maybe that's not good, but sometimes like you want to know specific things, and so you ask it in a way that you know that they would have to answer to get in a way that you would get the answer you want.
Oh my gosh, I have done that. You've seen me. Okay,
Anyways,
moving on.
Isn't that what a good interviewer is?
Yeah, and that's kind of part of my job. I interview people.
Yeah, so you have to ask questions in a way that
you get the answer
you're
that
not feeding them what you want, but you need them to think of it in a way that gives you the answer you want.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here.
Yeah, because then she goes, "I have no husband."
He's like, "You're right."
And then he's like, "You right, girl."
I love that.
I know.
I love seeing Jesus's like spicy side.
Yeah, literally. And he's like, "You right, girl. Like, you've had this many and you're not with the one you're with now." And then she was like, "What's her?" Oh, her response is like, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem." So she's kind of, again, being snarky. You could tell there's like church hurt, before the church, there's religious hurt there because the Samaritans have been outcasted for all these reasons and told that they can't worship in the same way and this and that.
Right.
And so she's like coming back to him with some sass. And again, what he tells her is that there's a time coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in the Spirit and in truth. And so after she's like, the Messiah is coming, he'll explain it to us. Because I think she probably was like, I don't know what you just said. That's confusing. He then is like, I, the one speaking to you, am he. And this is the first time he ever directly admits that he's the Messiah to someone.
I think that's really cool that this is the first time he admits to someone, like, because Jesus was very careful of what he said when he said it. And not like, okay, he admitted it, he finally said it out loud. Like word for word, right? But not only that, he said it to a woman, and not even just a woman, but a Samaritan woman. So, like, not even a Jew.
A little promiscuous.
Who has that kind of background, right? I think that just shows, I mean, who God is, who Jesus is. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. And then she immediately drops her jar and just like runs back to tell everyone this. And then in the same chapter, you see later that many Samaritans from the woman's testimony, that's in verse 39, they go back. And he stays there for 2 days, and a bunch of them became believers because of the woman who gave her testimony. And now, guess what? Like, she gets to be in a community of all these people that came to believe in Jesus through her testimony and then going to meet him themselves. Now she's not alone, and she's found freedom because of what Jesus spoke to her.
And I think it's beautiful to show that, like, how and what Jesus said to her was more than enough for her to get over that shame. And she faced it and was willing to run to a city of people. I feel like she didn't even care if they were going to believe her or not because of the truth that she knew, that she had to tell people, that she was willing to go to people that she was hiding from. She was willing to almost, you could say that she was willing to face death to avoid people, because you can get like heat stroke. You could have, like, whatever happened in this heat. Like, that's no joke. Like, I've almost passed out from being too hot and lack of like hydration, you know? So like, the fact that she was willing to now run to people that she was trying very hard to avoid says a lot.
And think of how redemptive it is that they believed her enough to go meet him.
They didn't say, oh, you woman, we know about your past, we're not gonna, like, they must have seen something in her eyes, that the fact that she avoided them before but now was willingly facing them was enough, like, proof to them that there's something different here.
So that's just the first story, and at the end we're gonna kind of, like, in a few bullet point like things, like, list out all the similarities and differences. But there's the first story, which is just so beautiful, right?
I always love that story.
So, woman caught in adultery, John 8. In this story, which I think is, like, one of the most beautiful depictions of the gospel ever, basically, the Pharisees, again, they're out to get Jesus, man. And this time they're doing it, they're trying to, I don't know, catch Jesus in some trap, but at the expense of this woman. Which is just so flawed. And you knew, like, she was caught in the act, it says, which is so...
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That is so...
That means that they knew that she does this stuff, probably.
Or that she was doing it. Who knows if she was in an affair. You don't know if she does it often.
Okay. Well, do you know what's funny? It's like, how did you know when to walk in? Like, you must have...
Well, they had to be following her.
Well, either they were following her or they were aware of her past behaviors. And so it's like, why didn't you guys say something before? Why now? Well, obviously they wanted to use her for bait.
Exactly.
But, like, that's, like, crazy. Like, they went and anyways walked in.
There's definitely both, like, are in the wrong. And I think Jesus is trying to point that out with how he deals with it. But it is so crazy to think, like, she was obviously in the wrong, but for them to only care when it was for their advantage. Oh, it's just kind of crazy.
Interesting they didn't bring the man that she was caught in adultery
with.
Well,
because, let's not talk about it.
Anyways,
men were held accountable in the same way at times, and it's just,
I won't say anything. Let's keep going.
Okay, keep going. So basically, she's caught in the act. They drag her in front of Jesus and, like, throw her there. And John 8, I'll read a little bit. In verse 4, when they make her stand there, they say to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such woman. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. So literally, it tells you their intentions right there. And so continuing, it says, but Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, let any of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left with the woman still standing there.
Mm-hmm.
So just to like picture what happened, I always, when I've like taught this before, not always, but sometimes I've read it slowly and done the behavior that Jesus did. So he like says what he says, then he stoops down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, first he stoops down before saying anything. He starts writing in the ground.
Right.
And it's like, what are you doing? And we don't know what he's writing. And then they are still questioning him even. But you know what's cool is like, imagine you're there and he stoops down and they stop looking at her. Instead, they're looking at him because
like they're trying to have a conversation with him and he's literally ignoring what they're saying and doing something in the sand.
Yeah.
I'd be like, buddy, we're talking to you.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing anything? And instead he's writing something in the sand.
Exactly. And he's taking the attention off of her by being interesting. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
He's
doing
different.
something different.
Yeah.
And so then when they keep questioning him, then he stands up and he asks them that question. And when he just keeps going, he stoops down and keeps writing in the sand.
It's almost like he didn't even wait for their response to like acknowledge it. He's like, I'm going to say what I need to say. And
yeah. And then they start leaving. And it's interesting because the older ones start leaving first because they have lived more life and know that they have sin. Versus the younger ones who are a little bit more like stubborn and probably prideful. I mean, come on. Yeah. Our young adult ages, sometimes we be like that.
What are you talking about, Sammy? We're perfect.
And so then when they all leave, it's just him and her. And here's what he says. It says, Jesus... Oh my gosh, sorry, words. Jesus straightened up and asked her, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? And she says, no one, sir. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go now and leave your life of sin.
I think it's interesting how during this whole interaction, that's the first time she speaks.
Yeah.
That she stays silent. She didn't try to be like, no, but like I didn't mean it, or I didn't, like she didn't try to defend herself. She didn't try to make excuses. She's just silent.
Yeah. I can imagine probably like distraught, weeping. I don't know. Just like, if she was caught in the act, who knows what she even had on? Like she could have just
been butt naked for all we know.
Yeah. Or at least like with something trying to cover herself. Like,
I don't know. She was dragged. Out of the house. Did she even have time to?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they have blankets back then? Probably.
Sheet. Let's not go there. Don't imagine that too much. Anyways. So yeah, Jesus is engaging with her in a very like, again, honoring way, but truthful. So an important word to see there is condemnation or condemn, which when I have looked it up kind of goes hand in hand with shame because it's the act of declaring something awful or evil. And basically when a person is reckoned guilty and made to suffer as guilty. So it's like, this is what you've done. So like you are evil, which means you have all this like wrath and judgment against you, which in theory, like we all are deserving of condemnation, but through Christ, that's what Romans 8 says. It's like, now there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And Jesus is encountering this woman and saying, has no one else condemned you? And she's like, no, obviously, because he was like, if you've never sinned, walk away. Everyone's worth like deserving of condemnation. But through him and his grace, like he takes that for us. But then he still calls her to live like a better life.
Right. He doesn't just have them go away and say, okay, now go on doing what you were just doing.
Yeah.
There has to be a change there.
Yeah. And I don't really know like if when John was written, because sometimes the authors will write things somewhat in like a timeline order, but sometimes they're like they put the stories there to show other themes, so it might not be that like the next day or the next moment he said this. But in John, the next verse after this, I think he puts there intentionally because it I think is like a theme that you can get from that story. And it's in verse 12. It says, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this woman was walking in darkness, but he's saying like anybody who walks with me, like walks in the light. You don't walk in darkness anymore. And so I just think that's really another cool story where you see someone who was caught in a shameful moment, but instead of like keeping her there, like Jesus met her in that and offered her a way out.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so cool. So there's those two stories. Now the next one is about the bleeding
woman. Okay, this story to me is always been like super intriguing.
Yeah,
because there's like just so much. It's almost chaotic.
it's a chaotic
story.
It absolutely is. Oh my
Such
gosh.
a chaotic story, and like a brief. I'm sure Sammy will like read a little bit more about like exactly what happens, but essentially there's a woman who was bleeding for 12 years, and bleeding I would assume is some kind of menstrual nonstop bleeding. I think is what we come down to.
Yeah.
And so when you're bleeding, and for women who like during their menstrual cycle, you're considered unclean for that time.
Yeah.
Which meant she couldn't participate in any like anything in the synagogues, like people didn't want to be around her, touch her, whatever, because they could then themselves become unclean. So she became outcasted, and then nothing helped stop it either. So I think at this point she's desperate for anything.
Yeah. And something that happens with this story that we won't get into too much, it's like a story couched in another story. So what's happening first is like this guy named Jairus, or however you pronounce it, he's coming to Jesus asking for help with healing his daughter. And then when Jesus is on his way with the soldier, this woman like encounters him, and he like responds to her.
It's like two miracles happening at the same time.
But because he stopped to do that miracle, like right at the same time that he finishes talking to that woman, one of Jairus's servants runs up to him and is like, your daughter's dead. So imagine Jairus being like, man, Jesus stopped for another woman on his way to see my daughter, and now it's too late.
Yeah.
But then he goes and like resurrects
chaotic.
her.
Which I think was the plan the whole time.
Exactly.
No, obviously they didn't know that.
Yeah.
But Jesus knew that.
Yeah. But to focus more on the woman who was bleeding.
Yeah.
I'll read in Mark 5 a little bit. It says in verse 25, well, first of all, there's a large crowd pressing up against him. So take that literally.
Like so much people, like, yeah. Lots of people, okay?
And then it says, a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, which is the same age as Jairus' daughter. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, interesting.
It's just like a random, like the same, I don't know. Anyways, and then it says she had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt on her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my clothes? You see the people crowding against you, his disciples answered, and yet you can ask, who touched me? They're kind of like, bro, are you for real?
Like, you're literally surrounded by people. I'm sure one of the disciples even probably touched him, like his clothes. Like, when you're just like walking with people are trying to get to you, there's probably people physically touching him. There's people touching his clothes all over. And he's like, you seriously want to know who? It's like everybody.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Jesus is always asking questions like that though, because I don't know. I feel like it's such a smart tactic. It makes sense because Jesus, I think, is just obviously trying to get other people to come to a conclusion about himself.
And without him telling them, like he wants them to think about it.
Is,
correct.
Right?
Yeah. And obviously Jesus knew who touched him. He's not asking like out of like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But he wants to see, like, I think he wanted to give space for the woman to come and face her shame. And like to come up to him and be like, it was I, right?
Yeah.
So he was asking more like not a rhetorical question, but more like.
But he was asking again with that intention of like.
She would respond.
Yeah. I think a lot of times Jesus asks questions because that may seem obvious, because when you answer them, it's an act of faith. And sometimes I think even when he heals some other guy by the pool,
Yeah.
He's like, do you want to stand? Do you want to be healed?
And you'd probably think like, obviously.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to actually say it out
But
loud.
saying it is like,
It's like that act of faith.
yeah, which is what I was trying to tell my mom this morning too. She's probably listening to this like Sammy. But anyways, basically he asked that, the disciples are like, what are you saying? And then he says, but Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came, fell at his feet, and trembling with fear told him the whole truth. He said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Which is just so cool.
Yeah.
Because Jesus didn't want to just like let her be healed without talking to him and encountering him, which is why he asked that question.
He didn't want her just to leave. And do you think she would, I don't know if she would continue living in shame if she hadn't been like forced to like face it in that moment?
Yeah.
Or if a part of her wouldn't have been freed, like would she keep, I don't know.
I don't know, because I do feel like she was living probably isolated because of something she couldn't control. Obviously, it was a health situation that kept her away from people. Since it was healed, she could go back into normal life. She would have to explain it somehow. But, you know, she would probably say,
well, she'd have to say something, but I think having that interaction with Jesus personally, like it does something like to her faith. Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, yeah, I think that it's almost like encountering Jesus in that way helped her walk away not just physically healed, but also with a renewed sense of like purpose, to know that she can believe in Jesus as like a king and a savior and like the Son of God.
Like she received more healing than she came for.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just a physical healing, but like
it was just,
she was given something way greater.
Yeah. And to kind of support that, I totally forgot about this, but in my notes, which I don't know where they're going. Oh, I see them. Basically, the word that is used for back in verse 29, it says immediately her bleeding stopped and she felt it in her body. She was freed from her suffering. That's about her physical like freedom and healing. But then when Jesus encounters her and she actually admits like, it was me, I touched you, he tells her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. So it's the same thing, being freed from your suffering. But the word for healed there is a different version of the word for heal in Greek. It actually, where is it? Oh, it's a word that means complete and holistic healing. So he's telling her to be freed from her suffering, not just physically, but in all the other areas of her life too. So it's cool because he, you know, different languages sometimes have a little bit more intention with them, and in English, you know, it was the same word, but in Greek there's different words used there to show that Jesus was trying to tell her like, you have been not only physically healed, but there's this complete and holistic freedom and healing that I'm offering you, and it's because of your faith. And that connects back to the whole gospel, like by our faith in him, in who he is and what he's done for us, we get to receive grace and receive salvation. And it's always been connected to that, is like our faith in the Lord. And yeah, she gets to just like go in peace, like he said, because, you know, peace comes when you put your faith in the Lord and receive his freedom and his healing.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I love these verses and these stories. But anyways, now to kind of wrap things up as we like put a little end to this, Stasha, do you want to share a little bit of like what these women kind of had in common?
Yeah, so I think when you look at these three stories, all of these women, they were outcasted. They were all living in some sort of shame, whether that was brought on their own sin or just circumstances of where they were in. They had made mistakes. They had struggles. And ultimately, they all just wanted to be loved.
Yeah. For real. And some of them, like they all were imperfect because we're all imperfect, but it's even interesting to see the different ways shame can be experienced. Like sometimes it starts off valid because it's from sinful behaviors that you have pursued yourself, that lead you down this path you might not want to be on, you know, but then there's the shame that others might put on you, for
because of
just
your situation,
yeah.
or if maybe you have health reasons and people like look down on you or
Yeah.
whatever, etc.
Yeah. So there's just, it's cool to see, like, I'm sure each of us can resonate with the different stories in different ways.
Hmm.
Now how they each like encountered Jesus, I think is cool. So with the woman at the well, Jesus came to her.
Yeah, she wasn't seeking
Yeah.
him, but he came out and saw her. He knew she was going
Yes.
to be there.
Yes. And then with the woman caught in adultery, she was literally dragged and thrown into like
Hmm.
right in front of him. And sometimes it might feel like in your life you're just maybe avoiding Jesus, but like other people in your community like remind you that he's there and bring you back in a
Hmm.
sense. And then with the woman with who was bleeding, like she came to Jesus herself. Like she
Hmm.
sought him out. She sought him out a little bit in a secret, like hiding way. I think probably because she didn't want other people to see her, but also because maybe she was a little bit scared. It says she was trembling when she admitted it was her.
Well, also, if you think, like, if she's thinking, well, I'm unclean, anyone I touch will be hence made
Yeah.
unclean. And if she believed anything about who Jesus was, she probably thought, well, I'm going to make him unclean. So if I touch his
Yeah.
cloak or garment, at least, like, I'm not touching him. So, like, no shame, no
Yeah.
foul, like, whatever, no harm. Like, it's
Yeah.
fine. But then when he, like, I don't know if she was scared because she was like, oh no,
Is he going to be mad at me?
yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, he came to her with love.
Yes. I never thought of it that way. Also, maybe she felt like afraid of what um like maybe she felt afraid that if she tried to ask, it wouldn't be granted or met with like grace or
Yeah.
anything. And instead she just thought, well, let me just touch him, like
Well,
instead of talking to him.
either way, her shame forced her into being quiet and hiding and
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
doing it secretly.
But I really admire the fact that she thought, it says like she thought, if I just touch him, that'll be enough.
Which is
And I think
incredible.
that's huge faith. And Jesus
Huge faith.
acknowledged that.
That even though like she didn't let her shame in that moment even keep her from doing that.
Yeah. And you can have faith and some sort of like fear at the same time. But if your faith is bigger than your fear, then you will go like towards Jesus.
Who will then set you free from those fears.
And he will help you work through it. So it's cool. Like, it's just so beautiful because it reminds me like Jesus will meet us in any state, in any season, and with open arms and a willingness to help our faith grow stronger and to help us just trust him more and experience the freedom and healing that only he can give us. But we have to have that faith first, even if it's just a tiny bit. And something at Youth Encounter that was shared that I thought was like really beautiful is how you may not initially have this desire for the Lord, or maybe you have a fear, or you're just kind of like, I don't know, in a grumpy mood or something, but you want to have the desire for him.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like one of the youth pastors shared that a student had told him that like I think they were telling people, if you want to encounter God, come to the altar, like to be prayed over, to be prayed with and whatnot. And this kid came up saying like, I want to have the desire.
Yes,
that
exactly.
He didn't even have a desire to want to encounter God. Like he just truly didn't feel any type of way, but he recognizes that he wished he did want to.
Yeah.
Which I think is showing that deep down he does want to encounter God, even if he doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And God can take that and uses that.
Yes.
That even that little, even admitting
that's
that
like a tiny bit of faith.
Yeah, that's the faith that God needs. That's the mustard seed faith that can be grown into. That's all it takes, which is crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, Jesus met them all where they were at. He brought them hope in his forgiveness to them. He also set them free by sharing truth, but with grace and honor towards them. And he just showered them with his love, which gave them access to freedom. And so, yeah, like that's just kind of the overall, I think, encouragement we want to share with you guys today from these stories. And I think there's like another scripture there if you want to go like ahead and read it.
John 8:31-32. To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, "If you hold my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free."
Yeah. And that's just so true. And it starts with like believing and holding to his teaching. When you know his truth, like you can walk in freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like every day you have to keep remembering that.
It's a daily reminder. You
Yeah.
can't don't go into it ever expecting that it's a one and done deal.
Yeah.
That like, okay, today I'm gonna believe in this in the truth that Jesus says and his teachings, and then for the rest of my life I'm gonna be A-okay. That's not how it works. We have little brains that forget instantly. And it
like
is
Dory.
That was a fitting character.
I know.
I oftentimes feel like I have the brain of a fish. I forget everything. And so it's like every day you need to remind yourself, and especially on the days that you don't want to.
Yeah.
Those are especially like you just have to remind yourself even when you don't want to, and admit like, God, like today, honestly, like I don't want to encounter you, but I want to encounter you.
And none of those women were too messy for Jesus, which means that we are never too messy for Jesus either. And we may feel like a hot mess express, and I know I do a lot of the times, but whenever I feel especially like a hot mess express,
That's the best thing I've ever heard.
I need to go to Jesus and be like, man, it's been tough out here. And sometimes it's just life circumstances. Sometimes it's my own emotions. Sometimes it's my own like struggles and like inner pride or judgment or jealousy or something.
And sometimes it's like I'm going through a harsh medical thing, and I'm like, I just don't feel great, and I don't know why, or I do know why, and I'm not being healed, but Lord, I trust you.
Yeah. But coming to Jesus to be honest with him, that is an act of faith too, and he'll always meet you there. So I guess just to kind of like wrap up, our prayer is that you guys wouldn't let shame sneak in and keep you away from the love and the freedom and forgiveness that Jesus has to offer, because it's there for everyone if we would just look to him, like still be repentant, obviously, but also trust that he is good, because he says he's good and because we've seen it, and that he really did get us like access to himself through Jesus, that there's forgiveness and grace available. And if you trust that God is good and he is who he says he is, then you can go to him and receive those things and trust that he's going to help make you new and make you better, and just walk with you through every hard moment.
And that's when you experience true freedom.
Yes.
From that shame.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
And that's what we want to live in, you know? Everyday ordinary life is better when you walk in the freedom that Jesus gives you.
Amen, sister.
Period.
Period.
And that's on period. I feel like I have way too much like Gen Z slang in my vocabukary now after
you think together. That's so true.
Like cooked, ate.
Sammy, you ate. Okay, we're done cooking.
Yeah, we're done cooking. See you next time.
See you guys next time. We love you. Bye.